This is Spirit Healer Radio, and I'm Carla Mesky. I'm a shamanic
Thank
healer
you
for
so
animals
much, Michael.
and people.
It's great to be
and
here
today
again.
I'll be
It's such a
interviewing
joy to
Eluv.
be on the
We
show.
did a
Thank
shamanic
you.
healing together just
Today
yesterday.
we have a really great show for you. I'm here with my friend Eluv. Hello, Eluv.
Hi.
Thank you. She's from Florida. She's a musician and a spiritual healer, and she does magical things with those glass bowls that make those beautiful tones. And she gives healing sessions on Skype and live in Florida. And I highly recommend you check her out. Eluv, what is your website?
RadiantSoul.com.
RadiantSoul.com. So, Eluv, thank you so much for joining me here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on the show.
So the beauty of Eluv is that she has come to work with me for, 6 years?
Around that.
Totally amazing. Totally amazing. And she's magical because she can journey along with me. So we do this healing work I call co-creative journeying. So co-journeying, where she and I are both on the same journey, working with compassionate spirits to help her with whatever her situation is. And you've brought me a lot of different situations over the years.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this last one was very interesting because I had just had oral surgery. So I came to you wanting to do just a general healing session.
Right. Right. And I had no idea. As usual, I have no idea. So I just take my spirit, Eluv's spirit, down through our tunnel into the lower world to meet with Grandmother Sunflower and ask her what needs done. So, what needs to be done, Grandmother Sunflower? What should we do? And to initiate that, I call the spirits in from the 4 directions. And it seems to me, it's challenging for me because I don't remember other people's journeys very well because it's not about me. It's about them and it's their experience. So I transmit it while I'm speaking. And then it's like poof. But it seems to me that a spirit came in for you that was a special spirit for you. Someone that you recognized and that you'd seen before.
Yes.
Yeah. And you may not want to speak of him because it's not always appropriate to talk about the spirits who come in to help us personally. But I remember that they wanted to start with physical work. And they went and I think they started on your left leg. Is that right?
Yes.
Not the right leg, the left leg. And they went right to the knee and they said, knee. Is that, yeah? Tell me about what happened there.
Well, what's really interesting is that I had just had a thermograph done, which shows the body, and you can see all these different places where there's more heat or less heat. So where there's more heat, there's inflammation, and where there's less heat, there may be even some bone deference. There may not be enough energy in that area.
Right. So normal looks a certain way, and then hot spots show up and cold spots show up.
Yes.
Okay. So what was it on your knee?
So it was cool on the knee.
Ah.
So the energy was lacking in that area. It was very interesting.
Do you remember what the spirits did on your knee? I don't.
I don't remember what they did specifically, but it stuck out for me because I had just had that thermograph and I was curious about what was going on with it. Because they don't actually tell you what's going on with it. I hadn't had the report.
Ah, okay. So, all right.
So that was so interesting when you said the left knee. I was like, oh my goodness. Okay, this is very interesting that's coming up. And you totally zoomed in on it.
And they went back to it at the end, I think, too. Before they finished with you, they said, we're going to go do some more on that knee. Yeah. Now, the next thing I recall is they went up your body and they identified 3 key concerns. One was in your lower abdomen, and they did this extraction that was one of the most interesting extractions I've ever witnessed. Because what they did is they gave me an image of the kind of vacuum cleaner that you have at self-service car washes.
Right.
That and the hose, right? And so they vacuumed out your abdomen and pulled all this old black out, and included in it was a guy, the spirit of a guy. So we call these lost wandering souls. These are hitchhikers that we pick up as we walk down our lives, especially when we're in the spiritual healing business. I mean, all sorts of hitchhikers can come in, and our job should be to cross them over, but it's hard to do when you don't know they're there. And this is one of the reasons to have work done so that other people can find your little hitchhikers and help them along on their path. So this guy came out of your abdomen, and he was banging against the walls of the can, and the spirit said, we're going to take care of him. It's very important that we take care of him in a really sweet and gentle way, and we're going to take him in the canoe and cross him over through the bridge. It's like a rainbow bridge, but I see it as this luminous colors, and they're going to take him through, but we're not allowed to see what happens to him. And when that happens, when I see that I'm not allowed to talk about it, it's there's generally two reasons. One, the person's life is their own business, and who are we to know what that person's life was about? Mm-hmm. It's their business, not our business. So there could be just a simple privacy, which is great. Mm-hmm. It also can be that the person had a relationship with you, and it could have been an aspect of somebody's personality that got stuck in you, maybe an old relationship, or maybe some confrontation you'd had, or somebody who's in love with you and you're not in love with them. Something, some kind of a living human being who's in relationship with you that gets stuck inside you, and we need to extract that aspect of him.
So what's the ramifications if there is a hitchhiker? What are some of the things that you've seen?
Well, if the hitchhiker is a lost wandering soul of a dead person, it can be really problematic because that person may not really realize they're dead. Mm. And so they move into your nice warm body and they start setting up shop. And then the person will get thoughts in their heads that aren't theirs. They may have cravings for illicit substances that they didn't even know that they wanted ever, because the person was an addict or an alcoholic. They may start feeling angry and dissatisfied feelings that don't feel like their own. Mm. The last time this happened to me, I became suicidal.
Wow.
Me? No. And as soon as I realized I was suicidal, I said, oh, I get it.
There's something going on.
This is not me. Mm. And the reason I picked up a hitchhiker is because I'd been in really extreme stress, and I was very vulnerable. Mm. It was when I was taking care of my father through his last days, and I mean, that's, to me, that was the most stressful thing I've ever undertaken. Mm. And when you're really stressed out, you can be, your walls can become thin. And I was in this old folks home with him, where there were a lot of people who had died, a lot of lost wandering souls. It was no surprise whatsoever that I would have caught a depressed hitchhiker, because a lot of the people in the old folks home were depressed because their spouses had died. I mean, it goes on. And when I realized it, it was like, oh my God, I could have had a V8, and I got it fixed, and I just felt.
You came back to center. So many people may have this going on and be totally unaware.
Totally unaware. And they struggle and they fight and they struggle and they fight. And they're not fighting themselves. They're fighting something else, someone else.
Can it be multiple?
It can be multiple in yes.
Hmm. Mm-hmm. So perhaps if someone's feeling these feelings that are not normal to them or not familiar to them, that may be an indicator. If you're observing somebody else that starts to act out of the ordinary, that could be an indicator.
Totally. Yeah.
So interesting, isn't
it? I mean, the word for it in the shamanic practice is possession, but that sounds so horrific, like it's the demons or something. It's not. It's somebody's old grandfather who needs help, who needs to cross over, who needs love, who needs to go to the sweet angels and find his mom and find his old wife. And it's just, Mm-hmm. It's just a sad situation. It's not a bad situation. It's so different. Not bad, just sad. And we need to help these things. Mm-hmm.
So when we're more vulnerable, or when we're going under stress, we would be more vulnerable to that happening.
Totally. Absolutely more vulnerable. You're more vulnerable to intrusion of all kinds. And speaking of that, we found a couple more intrusions in you.
Yes.
So the first extraction was of the black gunk out of the belly. And then I found something in the pericardium that we extracted. And I don't remember that. It must have been really personal for you because I'm blocked from remembering it. But the next one I can talk about because it just is what it is. They took this smaller vacuum implement that instead of the big, they took a little, and they sucked out in your upper lobes of your lungs. Very specifically, the upper lobes in the lining between your lung and your chest. That's called the pleura, like a pleurisy. And they sucked out little pockets of intrusion, and they said that you had been very sick and that this had actually been a pleurisy, and it's time to really get the clearing done.
So that was really interesting too, because I had spent the last 3.5 weeks with pleurisy, or a bronchial infection. And it so made sense to me because there were still residuals of it. It was like still kind of hanging on there.
Yeah.
So when you mentioned the lungs, and the lungs in Chinese medicine relate to sadness and grief.
Oh. Sadness and grief is right. Sorry, that was my messaging system. I'm unmessaging them. How do you feel now after we've done that session? Are your lungs different?
I feel relieved. There's a sense of lightness.
Yeah.
Like when I left, my body actually felt lighter, physically lighter. So that indicated to me that there was something that had been cleared and shifted and transmuted and transformed.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you feel that and it's an actual physical feeling, there's no denying it.
Right.
You know,
right.
It's like all of a sudden you come in heavier and then you leave kind of bouncing with that little extra bounce in your step again.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting.
Now, when you go home, what will you do in your medicine practice to reinforce this healing and to take yourself the next step?
So what I would do is, or what I will do and what I have done actually since then, is journey.
Mm-hmm.
So continue the relationship with some of the guides that I met in the journey.
Yay.
So for me, that was the beginning of something new, which was really beautiful. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And I work with sound. I work with crystal singing bowls. So bringing in the sound elements to the whole body, and maybe seeing and scanning my whole body and seeing wherever anything else kind of needs a little bit of attention.
Yeah.
So we'll do that. And it leaves me with a feeling of empowerment. It's like I go away, we work together, but then I can go away and actually work on my own.
Right.
And then come back, it's kind of like a tune-up. So that we're working more in alignment with each other, and it's more of a teamwork kind of thing.
Right.
And there isn't a creating of a dependency.
Right. Oh, gosh, I hate that dependency business.
So it's kind of like, yes, I can do the work on my own. And especially if I went through surgery a couple of days before I came to see you. So allowing that reciprocation of the healing to happen, allowing somebody else to work on you when it's really appropriate. Because sometimes it is really appropriate to allow somebody else to help and assist you. So maybe the lesson is just that receiving and receiving help. And out of the receiving help, we can learn ways to help ourselves. So that's been one of the biggest gifts. It's like out of receiving from you and doing the journey with you, I also learn how I can take away and what I can take away in my own life.
I love that. I love that.
So it's an empowerment all around. It's a way to come back into your power when perhaps, things of life has caused us to slip off that course for a moment or two or days or whatever it is, and then have tools, gather tools.
Right. And so when Eluv and I are working together, it's really unusual because she has such a strong capacity to journey. And I will do a lot of the work as I've described, or the spirits I work with will do the work, and I will speak about the work that they're doing and I'm standing witness to. That's more accurate because I'm not doing it, they are. And I stand witness to that and I describe it. So my job is really to be a storyteller and an orator and to hold the space for that to happen. And then at some point in my journeys with Eluv, the spirits say, and Eluv takes it from here with this teacher and she is to work. And if she feels like she can't find her way through that, if she feels like she doesn't know what to do next, my spirit will say, ask her to ask her spirit X. And so I do, and all of a sudden a big blast opens. So it's not a guided journey. I don't do guided journeys. It's a supported journey where my teachers are supporting you as you process with your teachers. And that's it's a gift. It's a neat thing.
Yeah, it feels like that, and it feels that there's an energetic transfer, but it's not in the way that you have taken over the whole situation.
Right.
It's really like we have our allies with us. And you feel the presence, I feel the presence of our allies.
It's awesome.
Totally. And there was a couple of other things. It wasn't, we had the pleurisy, we had the left leg, the pericardium, and there was a couple of other things, the stomach. So a few days before, I had been treated by an acupuncturist, and he had treated me for the stomach and the pericardium. He put a needle in, and I said, "What's that?" It hurt a little bit, and he said, "Oh, that's the pericardium." So I wanted to confirm with you on a physical level that those were actually spots that were needing attention. And when that came up, that was so interesting to me. And there was another thing that I had thought about afterwards. You mentioned something during the journey about hearing drops of water.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes, and it was weird.
Okay.
It was weird.
So, in the bathroom where I'm staying, there's been drops of water since the day that I arrived.
Yes.
And I'm in the room and I'm hearing these drops of water, drops of water, drops of water. So there's no way you would have known that I was having that go on.
Except that I was merged with you at some level.
Right.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. And it's one of the challenges to energetic healing of any kind, that we merge with our client. We energetically connect at a level that is necessary to do the work, and at the same time you have to have a lot of discipline around that connection so that you don't become enmeshed. Right. And you don't necessarily pick up something and you don't become inappropriate. So thank you for saying that. And the only recommendation I have to people for learning what those boundaries are and how to negotiate that is to do a lot of work and practice and work closely with your spirit teachers when you're doing any kind of healing work so that they can guide you and they can protect you.
And I think also for me, it's setting the intention.
Yes.
So that's before I start working, I set the intention.
And intention is absolutely everything in this work. So I need to say just a moment. We have a lady who's wanting to call in.
Oh.
And she wants that I should help her rehome some dogs.
You can hear us on Tuesdays at noon Pacific throughout 2017 on Blog Talk Radio, Journey into the Light. All the archives are on SpiritHealer.com/radio. Thank you.